What do you do? What do you like about your job? What do you eat for breakfast? What do you do in your free time? What does it mean? Who do you live with? Who do you work with? Who do you go shopping with? Who does he live with? Who do you spend weekends with? Who does she walk to school with? Who do you share a room with? Who does he go out with? When do you wake up? When do you usually go shopping? When does your child finish school? When do you start work? When do you go to bed? When do you visit your family? When do they clean the house? When does she cook dinner? When do you have free time? When does he go to the gym? How do you get to work? How do you feel today? How does she spend her weekends? How do you study English? How does he relax after work? How long do you sleep at night? How long do you work every day? How long do you wait for the bus? How long does it take? How often do you cook at home? How often do you go to the gym? How often do you go shopping? How often do you drink coffee? Why do you learn English? Why do you like your job? Why does she eat only at home? Why does he go to bed early? Why don't you drink milk? Why don't you work on Fridays? Why doesn't he help you at home? Why don't you go to the gym? Why doesn't she eat meat? Why doesn't he like this idea? Where do you live? Where do you work? Where does he park his car? Where do you usually go on Sundays? Where does your husband work? How many children do you have? How many hours do you work every day? How many languages do you speak? How many cups of coffee do you drink? How many friends do you have? How many lessons does your child have on Monday? How much money do you spend on food? How much time do you need? How much water do you drink every day? How much time does he spend on the phone? What kind of food do you like? What kind of music do you listen to? What kind of books do they read? What kind of tea does she drink? What kind of shows do you watch? What kind of games do your children play? What kind of movies do you enjoy? Whose car do they drive? Whose advice do you follow? Whose house do you visit? Whose idea do you like? Which bus do you take to work? Which shop do you go to? Which drink do you prefer, tea or coffee? Which subject does your child like? Which team does he support? Which movie do you want to watch? What food do you cook at home? What music do you listen to? What TV shows do you watch? What games does your child play? What time do you get up? What subjects does your child study? What food does your husband like? What websites do you visit?